If you drove on a motorway in the last 12 months, there is a very real chance you already broke one of these rules without even knowing it. And starting tomorrow, enforcement gets tighter, cameras get smarter, and the penalties get heavier. We are talking fines of up to £2,500, 6 penalty points on your licence, and in serious cases, a driving ban. This is not a scare video. This is the information that could save your licence, your wallet, and honestly, your life. So stay with me for the next few minutes, because every single rule I am about to cover applies to roads you are probably driving on right now. Smart motorways are not new. They have been rolled out across England over the past decade, covering hundreds of miles of the country's busiest roads. But the rules around them have been quietly updated. The enforcement technology has been significantly upgraded, and millions of drivers are still completely in the dark about what is and is not legal on these roads. The government has faced enormous pressure over smart motorway safety, and the response has been to double down on enforcement rather than scrap the system entirely. That means more cameras, more monitoring, and less tolerance for the mistakes that used to slip through the net. What you are about to hear is not optional reading. It is the reality of driving in the UK from tomorrow onwards. Let us start with the rule that catches the most drivers out, and it is one that almost nobody talks about properly. The first rule is about all-lane running motorways, and what you must do when a red X appears above a lane. This sounds basic. Most drivers think they know this one, but the data tells a completely different story. Studies have consistently shown that a significant portion of drivers either ignore red X signals entirely or treat them as a suggestion rather than a legal requirement. Starting with the enhanced enforcement rollout, matrix sign cameras are now actively detecting and recording every vehicle that passes under a red X. There is no grace period. There is no warning letter first. The fine is £100 and 3 penalty points, and if you contest it and lose, costs can escalate sharply. Here is the part people misunderstand. A red X does not just mean there is a problem ahead in that lane. It means that lane is closed, and you must not drive in it. Full stop. It does not matter if the lane looks clear. It does not matter if there is no obvious hazard. The signal is a legal instruction, not a suggestion. Cameras positioned at overhead gantries can now track your vehicle across multiple gantries, which means if you enter a closed lane and stay in it, you may be photographed multiple times, generating multiple fines from a single journey. That is potentially hundreds of pounds and 6 points from one trip on the motorway. The second rule involves the emergency refuge areas, and this one is genuinely misunderstood by millions of drivers. On an all-lane running smart motorway, there is no permanent hard shoulder. You already know that. What many drivers do not fully understand is the strict protocol around emergency refuge areas, the orange-marked lay-bys positioned at intervals along the carriageway. If your vehicle breaks down or develops a problem on a smart motorway, you must get to one of these areas if at all possible. Stopping in a live lane, even briefly, is extraordinarily dangerous and is also a legal offence if done without genuine emergency cause. But here is what the updated enforcement targets. Drivers who use emergency refuge areas for non-emergency purposes, including stopping to check a phone, taking a short break, or pulling over because they are not sure which exit to take, face serious consequences. These areas are monitored by CCTV and sensors. Misuse can result in a fine and points, but more importantly, it blocks the space from someone who genuinely needs it. The enforcement teams monitoring smart motorways remotely can deploy a response within minutes, and if you are found to have used a refuge area without a genuine emergency, you will be dealt with accordingly. Additionally, if you do have a genuine breakdown and reach a refuge area safely, you must call for help using the SOS phone or contact Highways England. Do not simply wait and then drive off when you feel like it. Leaving a refuge area is also regulated because those areas feed back into live traffic and the signal system controls when it is safe to re-enter the carriageway. The third rule is about variable speed limits, and the enforcement on this has been quietly tightened in a way most drivers have no idea about. On a smart motorway, the speed limit displayed on overhead gantries is a mandatory legal limit, not an advisory one. This is not the same as those amber variable speed signs you sometimes see on approaches to roadworks that say 50 in a circle. On a smart motorway, a speed limit displayed in a red circle is legally enforceable in exactly the same way as any other speed limit. The cameras on smart motorways are average speed cameras on many stretches, which means they calculate your speed between 2 points, rather than catching you at a single moment. You cannot brake hard, pass under the camera, and then accelerate again. The system knows your average speed over the distance and will issue a fine if you exceed the displayed limit for that section. What has changed with the latest enforcement update is the precision of the threshold. Previously, there was a general understanding among drivers that a small buffer existed before enforcement kicked in. The updated system operates with much tighter tolerances. The National Police Chief's guidance remains consistent, but the camera sensitivity has improved. Driving at 60 in a 50 zone on a smart motorway is now much more reliably detected than it was even 2 years ago. The fine for speeding starts at £100 and 3 points, but for higher excess speeds it can rise to a court summons, unlimited fines based on your weekly income, and up to 6 points. The fourth rule is one that almost no one talks about, and it involves what happens after an incident is detected on the motorway ahead of you. Smart motorways use a system called MIDAS, Motorway Incident Detection and Automatic Signalling, which monitors traffic flow and automatically activates signals when congestion, incidents, or hazards are detected. When this system lowers the speed limit or closes a lane, it does so remotely and in real time. The rule that catches drivers out is simple. You must obey those signals the moment they change, not when you can see a reason for them. Many drivers look ahead, see no obvious problem, and maintain their speed, or stay in a lane that has just been closed because they do not trust the sign. This is both illegal and dangerous. The whole point of the system is that it reacts faster than human observation. By the time you can see why a lane has been closed or a speed limit has dropped, you may already be in serious danger. Enforcement cameras capture your non-compliance from the moment the signal changes. There is no allowance for the fact that you could not yet see the hazard. The signal is the notice. Obedience to it is mandatory from that point onward. Drivers caught ignoring these dynamically changed signals face the same penalties as those ignoring static signs, and the camera evidence is considered conclusive. The fifth rule is one that could affect you even if you never set foot on a smart motorway yourself, and it relates to the smart motorway driving assessment that is now being incorporated more formally into the driving test syllabus and into post-license awareness programs. But more immediately, it concerns the duty of all drivers to check for signals before assuming a lane or speed limit is as they expect it to be. Complacency is the biggest killer on smart motorways. Drivers who have used the same route for years build mental habits based on what they expect to see. When those routes were converted to smart motorways, the physical environment changed, but the habits did not. The updated enforcement guidance specifically addresses this by removing any allowance for the argument that a driver did not see a sign. Overhead gantries are positioned at legally mandated intervals to ensure that every vehicle on the road passes within sight of a signal before any enforcement point. If a gantry is faulty, the system is designed to detect that fault and suspend enforcement. But if the gantry is working and you missed it, that is on you. The expectation now is that every driver on a smart motorway is actively reading the gantry signals as a continuous habit, not glancing up when something seems odd. This rule carries no single specific penalty because it underpins all the others. But failing to maintain awareness of overhead signals is the root cause of most smart motorway fines and most smart motorway fatalities. Now let us talk about the wider picture, because understanding why these rules are being enforced so heavily right now matters. The campaign around smart motorway safety has been one of the most heated debates in UK transport policy for years. Families who lost loved ones on these roads have campaigned tirelessly for change. Select committees have reviewed the evidence. Highways England has published safety data. The government has committed to additional safety measures, including more frequent emergency refuge areas on new stretches, and stopped the rollout of new all-lane running motorways, pending a stocktake. But the existing network is not going anywhere. There are currently around 400 miles of smart motorway in operation, and they carry enormous volumes of traffic every single day. The decision has been made that enforcement, combined with driver education, is the primary tool for improving safety on these roads. That is why the cameras are getting smarter. That is why the penalties are not being reduced. And that is why, if you are not up to speed on these 5 rules, tomorrow could be a very expensive day. Here is what you should do right now, before you next get on a motorway. Check which motorways on your regular routes have been converted to smart motorways. The Highways England website and many sat-nav systems now include this information. Know the locations of emergency refuge areas on routes you use frequently. When you are on a smart motorway, treat every overhead gantry as an active instruction, not background scenery. If you see a red X, move out of that lane immediately and safely. If your vehicle develops a problem, put your hazard lights on immediately. Get to a refuge area if you possibly can and call for help. Do not wait in a live lane. And if you see a variable speed limit displayed, match that speed and hold it. The cameras will tell the rest of the story. These roads can be driven safely. Millions of journeys are completed on them every week without incident. But they require a different level of attention and a different level of respect for the signage than a conventional motorway. The drivers who get caught out are not reckless people. They are ordinary drivers who simply never updated their understanding of how these roads work. Do not be one of them. The rules are changing. The enforcement is tightening, and the cameras are watching every vehicle, every gantry, every mile. You now have the information you need to make sure that none of those cameras ever send a notice to your door. Drive safely, stay aware, and look after yourselves out there. The roads are shared, and the rules exist for every single person on them. If this video helped you today, please subscribe to my channel so you never miss an update on the rules, changes, and warnings that UK drivers need to know. Hit the subscribe button right now and turn on notifications, because the next update could be just as important as this one. Share this with every driver you know, because this information could save someone a fine, save their license, or save their life. Subscribe now and stay ahead.